Welcome to another FPL video. We've done the best wildcard team, transfer tips, team selection, and there's way more coming your way. But here today we are going to be showing you the best free hit team for Game Week 31. And even if you're not thinking about the free hit, because it's not going to be that popular this week, this video can be used as a reference for the best options in Game Week 31, and that includes single game week players as well as double game weekers. So let's get straight into it. A quick disclaimer before we begin, the team that we're going to be talking about costs 106.6 million. I wouldn't even be able to afford that. I only have 105.4 million total team value. So some of you might not be able to afford this entire team, but you can make downgrades as we go along. And for those of you who have even more money left in the bank, you can upgrade the bench because we have a few bench fodder options like Ben Foster. So it all depends on your team and your budget. But we've gone for Nick Pope. He is facing Manchester City as one of those two games in Game Week 31, so it doesn't really look like a double game week the way I see it. He is facing Everton in the second game, which is pretty decent, but would I really back Burnley for a clean sheet there? Probably not, but I look across the rest of the board. Ramsdale's an injury doubt. Although I expect him to feature against Crystal Palace in 31, I don't expect a clean sheet for the Gunners. I look across the board, Jose Sarr against Villa, not that confident. I'm mainly looking at the top three teams in the league. So Chelsea, maybe you could go for Mendy at home to Brentford, maybe Alisson against Watford at home, and assuming Edison returns and recovers from his illness, which has put him out of the Brazil World Cup qualifiers in the next week or two, he could be an option against Burnley away. But other than that, I wouldn't really be backing a lot of these teams to keep clean sheets. Lloris at home to Newcastle isn't too bad, but still, I wouldn't be too surprised if the Toons got a goal there. I've gone for Nick Pope just for the double. I wouldn't consider Pickford. I looked at his returns all season, how bad Everton are defensively, and it just doesn't make any sense for me. But let me know, who would you pick in goal? I think this is the position I'm least confident about, and if Pope had any other game than City or a Liverpool or Chelsea, I think he could do really well in this double, but because he has that Manchester City fixture, I'm just not that sure about him. A bit of a different looking defence this week. I think not having Trent is probably the biggest issue with this team, and you can always go for him over any of these options, assuming you have enough money left in the bank and assuming he's fit. The same goes for Reece James, who does feature, but just bear in mind there is a chance he is not able to feature in Game Week 31 against Brentford, which would be a shame. I think he's a great option there in the London derby. But Reece James, Robertson, Cancelo, you're covering the three best defences and the three best teams in the league that way. Cancelo's a great option from now until the end of the season, but obviously this is a free hit. This is specifically for this week only, and I think all three of these could haul massively. The same goes for Trent. He's the only defender I'd be worried about not owning if you decide to go for this back line. Lamptey could actually be in your starting 11. He's facing Norwich, and I think an assist, maybe some bonus points and a clean sheet isn't that far of the realms of possibility. Johnson's just there as pure bench fodder. If you have enough money, you can always upgrade him, maybe to a Ben White or someone else. But I think this is a pretty solid back line. Remember, with the free hit, you want to maximise your starting 11 and have at least one good option on the bench, maybe two if you can afford it, because you never know with illnesses, COVID, the international break, injuries, etc. A lot could happen, but at the same time, you still want to focus on your starting 11, and I think this is as good as you can get. The only problem I really have is not having Trent, but Robertson, I would argue, is in even better form than his fellow fullback from Liverpool. He's been absolutely sensational, Robertson, and he's a great differential, so I think he is definitely worth owning. One of my best purchases since Game Week 26 on the wildcard, and I haven't made too many great decisions sometimes in recent weeks, but Robertson was definitely one of them, and I'll be talking about this later on using FPL.team, the website, so check that out. I'll show you how I'm lining up, but I think the idea would be to start with three defenders, so James, Robertson and Cancelo. But let's keep an eye on Trent and Reece James and their injury situations before we finalise and complete this best free hit team. We've gone for a midfield 5 here, and you could start all of these players. So we've gone for Gordon for that double game week. He's the only Everton asset I would really consider in Game Week 31, and even then, he is pure bench fodder for the rest of the season if you decide to bring him in for your normal team. We've gone for Heung-min Son. I think having Heung-min Son and Harry Kane is a great option this week, as well as Salah. You're covering three of the best players and captaincy options this week. The only downside is that it limits you in a certain way, and if you go for Kulusevski instead of Heung-min Son, that gives you over 4 million more in terms of your funds, which you could use to bolster one of your players in the starting 11 as well as your bench. So that is a consideration you could make. I've just decided to go for Son because I think he could do really well against Newcastle. He's got a decent record against them, and having Son and Kane is a great differential on a free hit. And also, I think he just forms part of the best team this week. Mohamed Salah speaks for himself. Just bear in mind there is that World Cup qualifier against Senegal for Egypt, so that could be really crucial. There could be a benching or two for Liverpool for Mane, Salah, or maybe even both heading into that Watford fixture, which is only 2 or 3 days after that big clash. So keep an eye on that situation. Kai Havertz is the informed Chelsea player right now. That could easily become Ziyech like he was. He was looking like the best option before the Carabao Cup final. Mason Mount has probably been the most consistent over the course of the whole season, but a lot of his returns have come against Burnley, Norwich, etc. But then again, he could do the same against Brentford, so you never know. He could still be a really good option. I've just gone for Kai Havertz. He's playing as the false 9. We talked about in the transfer tips video, so check that out as well. And Bukayo Saka in the London derby. He's in great form. He's looking very consistent as well. Some big returns in Game Week 26, as well as in this recent game against Aston Villa in 30. So he's looking good, but I can understand if you would rather go for Kulusevski. Although if you already have Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, I don't think you need to triple up on Spurs attack, although that's not a bad shout either. So let me know, would you go for Kulusevski or Saka? Would you go for Heung-min Son? And if you do, as well as Mohamed Salah and all these other options, you might be a bit limited in terms of your bench, and maybe you would be forced to play someone like Lamptey or Gordon, who you might not want to otherwise. But this is the midfield 5 we've come up with, and now let's move on to the forwards. Harry Kane is one of the easiest options on a wildcard, free hit, or as a transfer. And if you look at him compared to the rest of the forwards in this calendar year, there is a huge gulf in class. I think he has 85 points in 2022. The next highest is Ivan Toney with 51. It's absolutely insane, the gulf between him and the rest. Che Adams is up there in the top 4. He is someone I would consider against Leeds away, but you probably want to favour an Everton striker like Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin or Weghorst with their doubles. That makes sense. And once again, we're looking at this team. You probably would have to start one of Gelhardt, Gordon, Johnson or Lamptey, and I probably would favour Gordon or Lamptey because of the double for Everton and Lamptey's fixture against Norwich. But the other two I would just bench. That's pretty much their role in this squad. But I can understand if you want to downgrade Heung-min Son, maybe to a Kulusevski, and then upgrade Gelhardt to an Everton striker so you have an extra double game week player. I just don't trust Everton or Burnley that much in order to really go gun-ho on them. We've only got 3 double game week players here with Pope, Gordon and Weghorst. You could go for an extra one. I don't trust any of the defences too much, so I definitely wouldn't double up on Burnley defence, especially when they're facing Manchester City. And even then, I already talked about my reservations about Nick Pope. He's facing Manchester City, and I'm not that confident about the goalkeeper selection I just put here, but because of the double and Pope's high ceiling, that's why I've ended up going for him. But I've also recognised that Mendy, Alisson and Edison could be better options. Up front, you could go for a Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin, but they haven't shown enough this season. Calvert-Lewin was really good in the first 3 games of the season with 3 returns, but ever since he's returned from his injury, not only have Everton been shocking, but Calvert-Lewin is still getting up to speed, so that isn't ideal. Let me know what you think of this team. Harry Kane is even a captaincy contender, but I think I would go for Mohamed Salah. Let me show you what this team would look like, how it would line up, the captaincy, as well as potential alternatives if you want to go for an extra Everton player or 2. With the team I just showed you, this is how I'd line up. I'd put Gordon in the starting 11, Lamptey first sub, then it's between Gelhardt and Johnson for that second spot. It doesn't really matter, and the rest speaks for itself. No Trent is a big concern, and also you could maybe go for an extra double game week or 2. And how would you fund it? Heung-min Son might be the ultimate sacrifice, the best way to go about it. You could go for another Chelsea midfielder like Mason Mount or Ziyech, maybe go for Kulusevski. Let me know which midfielders would you go for, and would you change anything in this team? So let's say, for example, we do Heung-min Son out for Kulusevski, and then that will give us enough money to upgrade Gelhardt, and I think we should be good there. So we could go for Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin. I'm not really a big fan of either, but let's go for Calvert-Lewin in this case. And then you could even bench Gordon. I mean, it's a bit of a tricky one. And either way, there's even Saka or Kulusevski that you could bench. That's not even ideal anyway. But let me know, how would you go about it? I'm not a big fan of this double, as I've talked about many times before. But if you want to maximize it, it does make sense. And Gordon could be your first sub. I mean, would you really want to bench a double game week player? I'm not sure. Either way, Gordon, despite him being one of the best players for Everton this season, I'm not sure he's a reliable FPL asset, but then you could say the same about all the other Everton and Burnley players right now. So that's how it could look like. You could put Gordon in for Kulusevski or Saka. It's completely up to you. And Also, you could maybe have even more money in the bank. In this case, we'd have 0.3 million left. Some of you might have even more than I do. My squad value isn't that great, if we're being honest, but some of you might have much better, and you can fully take advantage of this free hit and also this double game week. But I personally wouldn't be using the free hit until at least game week 33 and possibly 36. And I've talked about this also in my other videos, where there is the possibility of potentially bench boosting in 33 because some of you might have 1 or 2 Southampton forwards already, so you don't really need to make too many transfers up front. You already have Harry Kane, and therefore you've already got a pretty good forward line, and all you need to focus on is getting a good 5th midfielder and a 5th defender, and your bench boost is good to go with plenty of doubles in order to aid and facilitate your bench boost. And then you could use the free hit in 36 where the ceiling is higher and you could potentially gain more points by using the free hit then. But in most cases, it might be better just to bench boost in 36. There's more doubles, more opportunities there to maximize that bench boost. And in 33, because you might have a lot of players from Leeds, Wolves, etc., Aston Villa, that blank in 33, you can then use the free hit, get rid of those players, and also go for the double game weekers. But then the counterpoint to that is that the free in 33 might be counterproductive because you're probably going to get rid of Salah, Harry Kane, and all these single game week players that could do really well, and they might outscore the double game week players you bring in. So you have to be really careful with that one. I'm still not fully decided. I'm probably going to be free hitting in either game week 33 or 36. I'm still open to the idea of 37 potentially. So let me know what you're thinking about that in the comment section down below. And there could be a separate chip strategy video where I explain what I just did in detail and talk about how it relates to my team situation, what I'm thinking of doing, and what I think would be best depending on your team situation when you wildcarded and all of that good stuff. There's plenty of FPL content coming your way. There's already been a lot of videos out. There's going to be more UCL fantasy stuff as well, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you very much to all the subscribers. Let's keep on smashing the like button, hitting the notification bell so you never miss a single upload. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, to keep up to date with the channel and also all the latest injury news and everything you need to know about FPL and UCL fantasy. And you can also join the Discord server where we do the exact same thing, so you don't always have to be on Twitter or Instagram and glued there. You can just get the updates on Discord naturally, and we can all talk and improve our own teams in the best way possible. You can also join the FPL League, and also all that good stuff is in the description below. There's the channel memberships and also the Patreon, so check that out. There's exclusive early access to all my videos for any new members at any membership tier. Normally that is reserved for the highest membership for the Legends. So thank you very much. Enjoy the football. Take care. Hopefully this international break isn't too bad, and I'll see you next time.